This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome to part 2 of the pre-op nutrition class. However, you may be watching this presentation after your surgery and you have already completed 2 weeks of drinking only full liquids, and now you are ready to proceed to the next phase of puree and soft foods. So we're going to be talking about weeks 3 and 4, which includes the phases of purees and soft foods and what to expect. So week 3, this begins 15 days after you have had surgery. You are now able to consume food that is essentially pureed, blenderized, incredibly soft and mushy. So your aim here is to essentially treat your stomach like a completely new organ and reintroduce it to pretty much every food one at a time. So before I talk about pulverizing foods, there are quite a few foods that actually qualify as pureed and do not need to be mechanically altered. So this includes Greek yogurt, which is allowed. Also cottage cheese, ricotta cheese. Dairy is generally pretty soft, all the soft cheeses. You can also do scrambled eggs, and you can even do baked fish, which is essentially very soft, and make sure you don't over dry it. Also, if you eat tofu, you don't have to alter that in any way. And you could also do pudding and cream of wheat. The foods that absolutely do need to be pureed include vegetables and also meats, so chicken, beef, and pork. Now, this is important because vegetables contain fiber, which your stomach has not had yet. And meat is just generally a tougher, heavier food that you have also not yet had. So those you really want to do yourself the favor of pureeing them the first time you have them, because this is essentially your new stomach's first introduction to these foods. I like to tell people the more strict they are with themselves at the beginning, the more it will pay off in the future, because you have allowed your body to heal and prevented complications that sometimes happen by moving too quickly. So you are going to start striving for, meeting your protein needs, not just through the drinks. So the protein shakes, most likely you want to bring them down to once a day, and you want to start seeking protein from food instead of the beverages. So you are aiming for at least 70 grams, but now you're trying to focus on food. You're also continuing to monitor your fluid intake and make sure you get at least 8 cups or 64 ounces. And it will be important now to follow the rule of not eating and drinking at the same time. So after purees, you're now starting week 4. This is the soft food stage. I have also nicknamed this stage the overcooked phase. So essentially everything from the previous stage is allowed. And also if you need to stay on purees a little bit longer, that is absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with that. So again, all the fruits from the last stage are allowed. And vegetables and meat, they do still have to be very well cooked, but they do not need to be pureed or pulverized. So you want it to be, you want the meat to be basically falling off the bone. You want the vegetables to be very easily mashed with a fork. You still really want to be careful of any kind of hard foods. Raw fruits and vegetables are still not recommended. In fact, this is the only time as a dietitian that I recommend canned fruits and vegetables because they are soft. They're not as nutritious, of course, but right now the priority is to start reaccumulating your stomach to food. Frozen vegetables are actually excellent. They're just as healthy as fresh, and they are already cooked. So they are very easy to prepare. So I think frozen vegetables are really the best way to go when you are doing this phase. You just have to cook them really well. Be careful of baking foods. It might dry them out, and definitely do not fry foods. Again, protein needs remain the same, at least 70 grams, 64 ounces of water. That is 8 cups a day. And now stage 5, this begins a month after your surgery. So Overall, it's considered regular food. Essentially, all food is allowed. However, there are, of course, still restrictions, which we'll get into in a second. The main goal with regular foods is, to seek out protein, seek out whole grain starches. Potatoes count as a whole grain, and then vegetables as well. You'll be able to eat small portions of each of these to total to 1 cup of food. You may not even fit a cup yet at this time, which is absolutely okay. When you are eating, we recommend to start with the protein and then, work your way next to vegetables and then finish with starches. That's the priority of nutrients at this point. Protein is very important because you are likely losing a lot of weight in a very quick pace. And if you do not eat enough protein, you may end up losing muscle mass instead of only fat mass, which is what we're working for. So you don't want your muscles to deteriorate or be used for energy, which is why it's important to eat the protein. So food that most likely, will not be handled very well by your stomach is, a lot of it's not recommended anyway. So red meat, dried, chicken, jerky, things like that. Fried foods, those high in fat, your stomach's not going to handle those well, but again, they're not good for you anyway. High calorie, sugary desserts, those, again, they may lead to dumping syndrome, which is very unpleasant. Your body pushes food through quickly and painfully. And doughy breads like, pasta, bagels, hoagies, pizza, those as well, you definitely want to avoid, particularly when you're just readjusting to food. Now, there's another category of foods to avoid short term, which they are essentially good for you, but they're just a little too hard for your stomach in the beginning. So that includes popcorn, peanuts, almonds, any kind of nuts. Those are basically too sharp. So we tell people to stay away from those for the first 3 months. And then raw or very fibrous fruits and vegetables, just be careful with those. Maybe hold off on those for, 2, 3, 4 months as well. Cook your vegetables. Basically, just, move slow, protect your stomach from reacting to anything. Dried fruit, not good for you anyway. Seasoned spicy foods may just make you feel, a little bit nauseous. That may come back as well. So when all is said and done, it's not going to happen immediately. Give it some time. You'll be eating about 1,000 calories a day, and you'll still be aiming for at least 70 grams of protein and 64 ounces of water a day. You don't have to worry too much about fat and carbs. The quantity restriction will take care of that, but the numbers are there just for reference. And of course, take your vitamins. Now, as I mentioned in the first section, gas and nausea, those are most likely to happen in the soon after surgery, but constipation could actually continue to be an issue because you have just stopped a full liquid diet where there really wasn't that much fiber. So in the beginning, you're allowed to take Metamucil, milk and magnesia, Colace, which you can still take, but then you can also do fiber powder, which is allowed during the phase 3 when you do puree. So fiber powder like Benefiber is allowed as well. So the tips for long-term success overall, that page is in the book. It also just reminds you how many grams of protein, how much water, portion control. The main thing is do not skip meals. Do not let too much time pass between meals. Try to go for at least 3, maybe 4 or 5 little small meal / healthy snacks per day. And of course, exercise. So after 2 weeks pass, which is about where you are now, most people want to start meeting with the dietitian, and a lot of people start having questions because fluids were pretty straightforward, but once you start introducing foods, there's a lot more questions that you may not have had before. So we tend to recommend for people to see the dietitian, me, 2 weeks after surgery, and then another 2 weeks after that. So that's a total of 1 month after surgery. So you're very welcome to meet with me. This is my contact information at Community Medical Center and Monmouth Medical Center. The days that I am there are specified, and of course, I am always accessible over email. So you're welcome to call me or call the office to make an appointment. Thank you so much.